it's Scott Messick with Cerebral Selects. I'm here with Joey Krafchek, and we're going to talk about what went right and what went wrong. How was your week, Joey?
Not my best week. 3 wins, 4 losses, so definitely some head scratchers, but a lot to talk about nonetheless.
Well, let's dive in with Pittsburgh and the Rams. We had basically under 43.5. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, so that game was on a great pace the whole time. There was no score in the first quarter. The Steelers ended up with only 3 at the half. So everything was going according to plan. It's going to be tough to come by points. And the second half, the Steelers actually exploded. I didn't see it coming, but they ended up getting 3 touchdowns in the second half and route to a 24-17 win. So despite the explosion of offense from the Steelers, the under still held. But obviously, up until this point, Pittsburgh hadn't shown us much, so it was about time that they got it going. But nonetheless, the under still was good.
All right, so feeling pretty good coming out of the blocks. We're 1-0. Let's talk about another win. Atlanta getting 2.5 at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that one was another scary one because despite the Falcons' ability to drive the ball all game long, Desmond Ridder fumbled it 3 times in the red zone. And despite that, the Falcons still won outright. So that was a really great pick. Tampa was just clearly the inferior team here. Yeah, I'm glad that the Falcons didn't find a way to fumble it away entirely because that would have been a really frustrating way to lose another game.
Okay, let's shift to one of our losses. We've got Buffalo and New England under 41. Now, this game, you went way double down on how good the defenses were going to play. Let's talk about what really happened.
Yeah, so this game I was actually pretty confident because both offenses seemed to be broken. The last 2 weeks, Buffalo really struggled. As mentioned, 0 points through 3 quarters against the Giants. And, the Patriots are the Patriots, so I just thought this was a slam dunk under. And I was probably right if I had any way of foreseeing that the Bills' defense is actually broken. I knew, they lost some guys. They matter. I know those guys matter, but I just didn't think it was all going to fall apart. And specifically, the Patriots were going to be able to get whatever they wanted. So I just didn't see that coming. The Patriots had their best offensive game by far, scoring 29 on Buffalo. So just a total shocker, honestly.
All right, Joey, next up is Cleveland, Indianapolis. We had the under at 40.5. My instinct is we didn't win that one.
Yeah, that one went a little bit over as they racked up 77 points, an uncanny event. And the key in my job is figuring out, when I'm looking at a matchup, what are the narratives that matter and what are the narratives that do matter. And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out if something mattered or not. But nonetheless, this narrative that was wrong about this game was that this is 2 backup quarterbacks, essentially, and a Browns defense that just dominated the 49ers. Therefore, the Colts, I'm just writing them off. See, that was not how I should have done that. The real narrative of this game was you have 2 good offensive lines, the Browns and the Colts. And the Colts all season have shown us that they've moved the ball. They have a good offense. They're making a lot out of what they have. The Browns had a good game against the 49ers, but any team, any Sunday, the Colts are going to have a chance to get some yards. Now, did I think they'd get 450 yards? No. Even if you take out all those big touchdowns and the defensive touchdowns, they scored 77 points. There is no way the under is the right bet. It's just not hypothetically possible. So what matters more than backup quarterbacks clashing is offensive lines. Browns and Colts are 2 of the best offensive lines, and that's the making of an over, especially if it's 40.5, which is relatively low.
Okay, let's look at another loss. We had Detroit getting 3 from Baltimore. Now, I remember us talking about this earlier in the week, and I was saying, should Detroit really be getting points at Baltimore? And I was sort of dancing around that. I turned out incredibly wrong. So did you on this. We had Detroit getting the 3, and let's talk about this loss.
Right, so ahead of time, I looked at this as a team in Detroit that's won 3 straight games by at least 2 touchdowns, and they're facing a Baltimore team who's been good, but not dominant, a little sloppy, and I figured, all things considered, these are about 2 equal teams, and with the 3 points, I think Lions is a slight favorite. Maybe that was right, that the Lions were a slightly better play with the points, but there's just so many better games to bet on, Every team has good games and bad games. There's no way that Baltimore is just that much better than Detroit. Not sure how I could have seen that it was going to be that big of a blowout, but nonetheless, I think I should have laid off that one or taken the Ravens, clearly.
That puts us 2-3 going into our final game. We had two bets on the Eagles and the Dolphins. Okay, let's talk about the first bet, which was Philly giving two to Miami. That was a win. Break it down.
Yeah, so this one was one of those narratives that I just talked about, but a lot simpler. The Dolphins were missing two of their best offensive linemen, and they're facing the Eagles. So that running game that the Dolphins have been crushing people with, I figured, they're going to have a tough time. But unfortunately for me, it was too tough of a time as the Dolphins only had 45 rushing yards. So the Eagles just dominated. Their defense held the Dolphins to just 10 points of offense. It was just an absolute mismatch.
So, Joey, it's just one or two plays that took us from a 4-3 week to a 3-4 week. Overall, we're still well above 500 on the Cerebral 7. Where do we stand right now on the season, Joey?
After this week, it puts us at 27-19, which is 59%, so a little bit of a hit, but I'm looking forward to getting that percentage back northbound.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple days after Thursday Night Football, and we'll have our Cerebral 7 for Week 8. Joey, have a great night. Thanks for getting on. And to all the subscribers out there, thanks for subscribing.